A little girl gets lost in a major airport and a kind man finds her crying. He sets out to help her, but her parents call the police to arrest him. Mark Jordan spent lots of his time in airports. His job forced him to crisscross the country dozens of times each year, going from one factory to the other, making sure the company specs were followed to the letter. Mark was waiting to catch a connecting flight to Detroit when he noticed a little girl. She was curled up under a chair in a waiting area and she was crying. "Hey there," Mark said. "What's the matter?" "I'm lost," the child said, wiping her nose at the back of her hand. Mark immediately reached into his pocket and pulled out his handkerchief. It was one of those old-fashioned ones that no one used anymore. Mike's wife insisted he always carry one. She'd say, "A gentleman always carries a handkerchief. You never know when you might need it." She was right, Mark thought. He was his tiny mite in distress and he had a nice hanky to lend her. Mark felt like a knight in shining armor. "Here, honey," Mark said, handing the girl the hanky. "Blow your nose." The child took the hanky and used it enthusiastically, then gave it back to Mark. "You keep it. You might need it again. What's your name?" he asked. "I'm Kelly. I'm 4, the little girl said. "Well, you're a big girl, Kelly. So where are your mom and dad?" "I don't know." Kelly's lips started trembling and she looked as if she was going to burst into tears again. "Do you know where you're going?" he asked. Kelly nodded vigorously and said, "We're going to New York City for Granny's birthday." "That's nice," Mark said. He glanced at the announcement board. There were 12 different flights for New York scheduled for departure. "So what's your mom's name?" asked Mark gently. Kelly looked at him scornfully. "Her name's Mommy, silly," she replied. Mark sighed. "And I suppose Dad's name is Daddy?" Kelly gave him a big sunny grin. "Exactly." "Tell you what," Mark said. "You come on out from under that chair and we'll look for your mommy and daddy, okay?" Kelly thought about it. "You're a stranger. I'm not supposed to talk to strangers." "You're quite right, Kelly," Mark said. "I tell you what, we'll stay where everyone can see us, and if you feel scared, you yell 'police' as loud as you can, okay?" "Okay," Kelly said and scrambled out from under the chair. Mark took her little hand and started walking towards the information desk. A long line of people was waiting and Mark and Kelly joined them. "You keep looking for your mom and dad, okay?" he said. "They must be looking for you." Kelly nodded and started scrutinizing the crowds of people walking past. The line towards the information desk moved very slowly. "Excuse me," Mark said to the people ahead of him. "I have this lost child here. Would you mind if I went first? I'm sure parents are very worried." "Listen, buddy," said a man with a big red face. "Wait your turn. We all have problems." "I've been here an hour," said a sour-faced woman with frizzy hair. "There's no way you're jumping in line with that hard luck story." Mark sighed. Airports somehow bring out the very worst in people he'd noticed. People who were probably kind and caring in their normal lives became selfish monsters in airports. He waited with Kelly patiently, and just as they reached the counter, a voice screamed, "There she is, Kelly!" Kelly turned around, let go of Mark's hand, and ran towards a slim, pretty woman who looked very upset. "Mommy!" she cried and hugged the woman. "Kelly, where have you been?" the woman sobbed. A man arrived and hugged Kelly too. "I was with my friend," Kelly said and pointed at Mark. "You? What were you doing with my daughter?" Mark held up his hands and said, "Listen, you're making a mistake. Police, someone call the cops." Within minutes, Mark was surrounded by airport security. "You're making a mistake," he cried. "This man took my daughter," Kelly's mother said. "We were lucky to find her." "No, Mommy," Kelly said. She broke away from her mother and ran to Mark. She took his hand and said, "This is my friend. He was helping me find you." "She's right," the man with a big red face said. "He asked us to let him by." The one with the frizzy hair looked embarrassed. "I thought it was just a story." Kelly's mom and dad looked embarrassed too. "We're sorry," the father said. "It's just that these days we always think the worst." "My friend said that if anyone made me uncomfortable, I should scream 'police' very loud," Kelly said. Kelly's mom said, "Your friend is right. That's very good advice." "I have kids too," Mark said. "I understand your fears." "I just looked away for a second and she was gone," Kelly's mom said. "Thank you so much." A few hours later, Kelly was safe and on her way to New York City with her mom and dad, all thanks to Mark. Children are our greatest treasure. Any parent's greatest fear is losing their child, but we don't have to jump to conclusions in such situations.